Hi, everyone. Richard Bakura here, head of RIA Client Services for CBS Brokerage. How do you answer the call? In working with advisors, particularly in the RIA space, the question I ask the most is, how do you answer the call if such and such a situation happens? So as part of our fiduciary risk management platform for our RIA clients, we have an exercise called client segmentation, where we help break the practice down into 3 profiles, formerly known as FNA profiles. We look at situations. We help to uncover opportunities, potential risk management opportunities, risk mitigation conversations. So how do you answer the call? For example, let's say that you have a high income earner and you get a call from the spouse says, hey, my spouse is now disabled. They're unable to earn the level of income we've become accustomed to in our lifestyle and the level of income that our plan calls for it to be successful. What do we do? Now, for some advisors, the look of fear on their face, the I don't know, is obvious. It's obvious you've never had that level of conversation with your client. Yet, when the event takes place, you, the advisor, is going to get the call 100% of the time. So the goal of the how do you answer the call segments up and coming is to prepare the advisor to be able to act more in a proactive manner, with dialogue, to be the advisor that their clients need them to be. The first step is understanding your role. When you sit across that table, kitchen or otherwise, you accept the financial responsibility of that stranger, their immediate family, and generations of their family that, quite frankly, you may not be around long enough for them to thank because of the work that you've done. For example, such as in a business or a farm that gets passed down generation after generation because of the work you've done, or the legacy of grandchildren having an opportunity for higher education because you did some college planning or some gifting. At the very minimum, it's our role to provide guidance in a fiduciary capacity, which indelibly puts you right front and center of every life-changing event of that client, which there are 4. Time value of money, living too long, or the fear of outliving retirement savings, dying too soon, or premature death, which basically makes you responsible to ensure that any future financial obligations are met, or becoming disabled, be it during working years or a disability such as an extended healthcare issue in retirement. In both cases, it protects income. Without having that level of conversation, the plan you may have set forth for the client is obsolete the minute they walk out the door. At the very least, we have a professional responsibility to seek and implement alternative solutions, even though they may be outside of our main focus. So how do we do that? First step is leverage. The financial service industry has every resource that every consumer needs for financial success, regardless of their situation. And as a fiduciary, as an advisor, we must leverage all that the industry gives us. We are the conduit between industry and consumer. So the first thing we need to do is take a look at our human capital. We need to build a collective advisory team. If you are a money manager, but you're also acting in a fiduciary capacity, then if it's not what you do, you need someone who has a tax background, perhaps a legal background, insurance background, or risk management background. And that's okay, because you're the quarterback of the relationship. Another part of the industry we need to leverage are the resources in the form of experience and processes, resources. Your team, your collective advisory team, what is the experience that they have in dealing with a client given a particular situation? Maybe it's a business owner or a high net worth client, or just a client that has a history and has a fear of needing some form of long-term care because maybe they've been a caregiver. And you need a process to follow. It needs to be systematic and scalable so that no stone is unturned, so that you can sleep well at night knowing your clients can sleep well at night because of the communication that you have. Leveraging those resources is key. And then, of course, there's the tools and technology of our trade. 25 years ago when I started, we didn't have financial planning software. I have laminated calculation tables of which I still use today. We have planning software. We're gathering statements. You get to put it in this nice, neat little planning software algorithm input, and it spits out probability of success. It runs through Monte Carlo simulations. But the soft data is the key to the success of the plan, not the hard data. Because the probability of success, the end result of the output of that particular software, is all based on the input. Crap in is crap out. Soft data is where we feel the biggest opportunity to connect or reconnect with our clients exists. Asking those uncomfortable questions. What if this happens? If you don't wake up tomorrow, what happens? If so-and-so has a health issue, what happens? If you can no longer perform as an executive of the company that you own, what happens to it? Ask the uncomfortable questions. How do we do this? It's called approach and engage. All money decisions are the direct result of two things, emotion and logic. Emotion is what drives us to make a decision. And logic is the mathematical proof or other confirmation that a decision should be executed. It's just math at the end of the day. It doesn't matter if it's something that you do on a regular basis. If the math makes sense for a client to transfer a risk, it leverages the dollar, perhaps a better taxable situation, and it gives the client peace of mind. Client doesn't care what you do or what you don't do. They just care about themselves and that their plan will be executed. I can tell you practical application of just asking those two questions enhances a relationship infinitely. Instead of having conversations that are uncomfortable up and down, the market's going sideways, what happens? We have a plan that is holistic in nature, and you know what? Our probability of success is solid regardless of watching the ticker every single day. Most importantly, we're here to improve the probability of success for the client. If we're not asking those difficult questions, we don't know what's on the client's mind. It is impossible to produce a probability of success that maximizes for the client if we're not asking the right questions. In any situation, the deliverable is key. And it must provide three things for the client. One is a peace of mind. How do we do that as advisors engaging? What's the plan, Mr. and Mrs. Client? If you don't wake up tomorrow, or if you need healthcare that's far greater than what your spouse can care for, or the business, something happens to the business. What is the plan? I mean, it's a pretty simple question. As an advisor, we're smack dab in the middle of it, so it'd be nice to know what the plan is. That's peace of mind. It must provide greater leverage on the dollar or the result of maximizing a probability of success. How will you fund that situation? What asset would you liquidate first if such and such happened? Ask yourself the question today. What asset would you liquidate if your 72-year-old client called and said, hey, we have a problem? Because if you don't know, that's a big problem for your client because they're expecting you to have an answer immediately. What else do they look for in a deliverable? Maximizing the probability of success. We have the ability to do that. We have the software that does that. You might as well leverage it and use it in a client's behalf. Client probability of success is key as a fiduciary, but it also is for us as the advisor. I often say to advisors, look, if your runway in this industry is longer than your oldest client's mortality, you have a problem if you don't know the next generation of that client. Because you have about a 70% chance of losing those assets at the death of your eldest client. And if you're not back into what is the plan, and that might be an adult child who is probably in their mid-50s, you haven't spoken to, probably has their own advisor, and will probably be the one that calls you. Mom or dad had a problem. Who is this? You better know who these people are. That's what we're looking to do together. Now, execution is paramount to meet the changing demands of an ever-evolving industry. In the very near future, D2C models will become more challenging for the advisor. D2C is direct to consumer. Think of it this way. Imagine a platform where a consumer can learn the 4 basic pillars of financial planning, personal financial success. Access to calculators, Monte Carlo simulations, old money, new money calculators. tutorials on how to utilize financial planning software with an algorithm that will only produce the highest probability of success for that individual client, given their individual situation. What do you do in that scenario? Not to stay ahead of the curve, change must occur. And I know change is painful. Advisors, we must look inward. We must address our old school approaches. We must implement new school approaches, such as changing our environment. What we don't do this product. We don't do commissionable products. We're not licensed to do that. We don't do insurance. We don't do this. We don't do that. Your clients don't care. All they care is that you are the one who promised them when you sat across that table that you would take care of them regardless of the situation, acting in a fiduciary capacity. You need answers and you don't know how to get them. Your clients need answers and they deserve them. We need to change the culture. All of those things that you don't do, all of those things that we're uncomfortable with inside or outside of our everyday, what I call our wheelhouse, is nothing more than acumen proficiency. Look, we're not here to make you an expert in risk management or this product or that product, but you got to know how to engage and then know how to pivot. Look, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, that is a phenomenal question. The good news is working with me as an advisor, I have a very deep bench of very smart people. And that is a tax question that I have just the person on my team. Let's get the smart people on the phone and let's handle this situation. Let me write that question down for you. There's nothing wrong with that. Not one advisor can be everything to everybody. It's impossible at this point. And then last but not least, we got to change the narrative. Are you a money manager or are you a fiduciary advisor? Now, there's nothing wrong with just being a money manager. Do your clients know that? Do they have a certain level of expectation that, oh my God, this is Bob, Mary had a stroke, I need $6,000 a month starting next month. I don't want to change my income levels and my lifestyle, and I don't want to change my legacy goal. What do I do? How do you answer that call? So in conclusion, how do you answer the call? What is your plan to remaining relevant for your clients? At CBS, we answer the call very simply. We look to improve the probabilities of success, one client at a time, one opportunity at a time. But it is a process. It is a process of emotion and logic, of approach and engage. What is the soft data? Are we asking the uncomfortable questions? How much easier is it to help your clients reach their maximum probability of success if you're asking the questions about what bothers them? That's what we do. That's how we help. The good news in working with us, we lift about 95% of that work off your desk. So if that's the sticking point of getting involved in being a more holistic advisor, rest assured, you have the relationship. That's all we're asking. Appreciate everybody's time today. Stay tuned for upcoming episodes. Reach out to us. You have a case, you have a client, you have a situation. Reach out to us. We'd love to help.